In this video, we're going to discuss resurfacing and polishing terrazzo with the Apeiron system. The objective here is to eliminate the need for floor finish, therefore eliminating the need for stripper, seal, finish, spray buffing, burnishing, and scrub and recoat procedures. We're clearly going to have a different look on the terrazzo because we're going to be polishing the aggregate naturally and showing off the different characteristics of the various rocks. So instead of having a plastic look, we're going to have a natural look to the floor. These are the items contained in the terrazzo restoration kit: 120 grit diamonds, male Velcro, the scratch removal discs, the wet polishing powder, and the DiaPoly final polish pad. This kit contains everything you should need for most terrazzo situations. However, if you have a heavily damaged floor, you may want to start with the 60 grit diamond prior to going to the 120 that's included in the kit. And we also have a 220 grit diamond, but this is for marble only, not necessary for terrazzo. For the purposes of this video, we're going to start this procedure with Apeiron scratch removal disc, the SRD2s. You would follow the same procedures with the 120 grit. This is the male Velcro that can be used if the customer does not have a Velcro back pad drive. We can put the male Velcro on the SRD and attach it to a standard white or red pad or even our DiaPoly pad. This is going to be the means of holding and driving the abrasive disc. The floor must be completely stripped of any coatings prior to starting these procedures. To start, we simply flood the floor with water, put the floor machine down, and work 20 square feet for 30 seconds per square foot. That translates to 10 minutes for 20 square feet. Moving the machine slowly from side to side and moving the machine forward and backwards to create a crosshatch pattern on the floor. It's important to keep the floor wet at all times. We don't want the floor to dry back. This will cause unnecessary wearing of the scratch removal disc or any abrasive that we're using in the low-speed method. Incidentally, these are the same procedures that you would use for a heavily damaged floor with the 60 grit or the 120 grit or the 220 grit, keeping the floor wet, moving the machine in a crosshatch pattern. So it's important just to spend the same amount of time in this frame of 20 square feet with all of the steps. Whether you're running one machine or two machines, if you do things based on time versus passes, you'll get consistent results. After we've run the machine in the 20 square foot area for the appropriate amount of time, we wet vac the slurry off the floor. Oftentimes, if we get some dry back, we'll flood the floor with water and make a few more passes before we stop the machine to wet vac. It's important to get this slurry off the floor completely because when we move to the polishing step, we need to have the larger grit from this slurry out of the way so it doesn't impede our polishing. So we flood the floor with water using a damp mop or simply pour water on the floor, move it around with the machine, and then wet vac one last time. Of course, rinsing is aided by the use of Apeiron's neutral stone cleaner. The surfactants will help carry the abrasive up into suspension so it comes into the wet vac more readily. Now that the honing is complete and the floor is scratch-free, we can move on to the polishing step. Using the Apeiron DiaPoly pad, this is our final polish pad, or the FP pad, in combination with our marble wet polishing powder, because we treat terrazzo just like we treat marble. We put down 1 ounce of powder and 4 ounces of cool water to polish 20 square feet of stone. Notice we put the powder down in a circular form, matching the size, closely the size of our polishing pad. We quickly cover the floor, our working area of 20 square feet, to get the entire area wet.
Then we can slow the machine down and make smooth, consistent passes over the entire working area. So we've got two things working for us right now. We've got the diamond abrasive that's in the FP final polish pad, which there are a million of microscopic diamond chips in this pad that are very refined at a high level, in combination with the abrasive in the polishing powder. We're basically abrading or rubbing the stones smoother and smoother. You see here the new pad and the terrazzo absorbed a little bit of the water from our original 4-ounce application, so we add a little bit more water just to keep the surface wet during that 30 seconds per square foot or 10 minutes on our 20 square feet that we're working.
We continue to talk about 30 seconds per square foot. This is how we want you to do the demonstration with the customer. Reality is when they start the project, they may be able to experiment and cut that time back even to 15 seconds a square foot.
After we've worked the floor for a sufficient amount of time, we simply flood the area with water and make a couple more passes. The purpose of this, similar to our wet vacuuming of the slurry with SRDs, is just to loosen up our slurry, make it as liquid as possible to aid in the efficiency or effectiveness of our wet vac procedure.
So now we're going to wet vac the slurry up and reveal the gloss that we've created with our scratch removal discs honing and the wet polishing powder with the FP pad in polishing. The wet vac can only pick up a certain percentage of the slurry as it's very, very fine in micron size. So when the floor dries, you'll actually see a light haze of residue across the floor. A lot of times we'll just take a white towel or a clean cloth and rub that haze out of the way. But you could also use this time as an opportunity to show the other uses of the DiaPoly pad. You can take that FP pad and buff the residue off the floor with the FP pad with the diamond side down, which is indicated by the red wear indicators, and then discuss with the customer that this is the pad that they should be using underneath their auto scrubber for daily cleaning. If they have a burnisher available, you could put the pad underneath the burnisher and knock the residue off the floor with a high-speed method. This is the polishing compound. If you or the customer are not completely thrilled with the gloss that you got by using the wet polishing powder, it could be because you have some unique rock matrix in the terrazzo that is not responding to the powder, but would respond to the polishing compound, which is used in the same procedure but with a white polishing pad. Another method of polishing terrazzo through the use of the cleaning procedure, so not introducing any more labor, is by using the DiaPoly pads only underneath the auto scrubber during cleaning. You'd clean with the P1 pad for 3 weeks, 5 days a week, then clean the floor with the P2 pad, again 5 days a week for 3 weeks, followed by the PP pad, which is the pre-polish, and then finally with the FP pad, which becomes their daily cleaning pad forever with the neutral stone cleaner. Make sure to put the red wear indicators down and you'll get great results. So let's review what we've done today. We resurfaced with the 120 grit diamonds, we wet vac and rinse, followed by the scratch removal disc 2s, wet vac and rinse, and then polishing with the wet polishing powder and the DiaPoly final polish pad to reveal the natural gloss of terrazzo, utilizing its beauty and intended durability. Prove to your customer that you will never need to strip floor finish again. Differentiate yourself by showing them a unique program that will save them tens of thousands of dollars for several years to come.